2 a.m. and she calls me 'cause I'm still awake. Can you help me unravel my latest mistake? Dropped a stitch about 17 rows behind me. There's no way I can pick it up from where I am.
Hello, and welcome to the 6th episode of the Sittin and Knittin podcast. I am your host, Dianna. Today is Monday, August 6, 2012. I want to thank every one of you that is tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience with me. I shared in the last podcast that I had started a part-time job, which has added, close to 36 hours a week. I know they consider that part-time, but it is. So my family's still trying to get in a rhythm of my working and being at home and kind of get everything situated in a groove. And actually, not just my family, but my body is getting in a rhythm of handling home and work. And so I've taken a little bit more time to get this episode up than I wanted to. I wanted to record about every 10 to 14 days, and it's been 22 days. So thank you, everyone who is tuning in. I have a lot to cover, but then again, I don't think I have a lot. I don't want to keep you long, so let's get started. Thank yous. First of all, I want to thank everyone who downloads and watches this podcast. Um, there's something that Paula from Knitting Pipeline always says, and she says she appreciates the participation of her listeners. And whether you are a member of the group or not, whether you introduce yourself or not, you PM me, whatever, just whatever you do, thank you for participating in this podcast community. So I want to thank you so much for that. We did have a few more introductions since my last podcast. So I want to go ahead and welcome those who introduced themselves in the welcome thread or the introduction thread. And that was CC Carey, Genevieve, and Ann MCA. I'm not sure how to pronounce her Ravelry name. And I'm sorry, ladies, I didn't even get a chance to go over and see where you were from. But I want to thank you each for introducing yourself in the thread. We have about 11 more star ratings on iTunes. So I want to say thank you to everyone who took the time to go to iTunes and leave a star rating. And just thank you for the private messages I have received and for the forum post and for watching this podcast. So let's get into our show. Actually, our first thing before we even start with the knitting is we have a contest. And so I'm going to grab the random number generator and we will see who is the winner from our July share contest. Okay, for our July share contest, we asked, or the girls and I asked, that you all would just share in the thread. I had shared about when lightning came in through the window and struck, and while I was knitting, and my reaction to that, I shared that a couple of episodes back. And so I asked you to share an incident or something that you remember that was really um, I forget how I put it, but something where knitting kept you grounded when everything around you seemed not to be. And we received some really inspiring and touching posts in that thread. So if you haven't had a chance to go to that thread, I would encourage you to go to that thread and read through the post. So there were 19 posts, including my own. And so I have random.org up here. I told you that digging in a teapot probably wouldn't happen very long. That's what I did for the last podcast, but I didn't have time. It would have took me more time to cut up all the names and put them in there. And I wanted to get this podcast out to you. So I just went ahead and pulled up random.org. So we have numbers, excuse me, I dropped my mouse. We have numbers 2 through 20, and I'm going to hit generate. Generate. And the result is number 14. So number 14, you are the winner, and we'll go over to the thread and see who number 14 is. And number 14 was Purple Rockstar. Very sweet. She has a very cute podcast called the 20-Minute Thrifty Knitter Podcast. And if you haven't checked her out yet, I would advise you to check her out. She's a very sweet young lady. So, Purple Rockstar, if you would contact me through a private message on Ravelry, I will gift you a Ravelry downloadable pattern of $7 or less of your choosing. So, congratulations. And like I said before, I'm going to leave that thread open and unlocked, and anytime any of you feel to post in that thread and share with us an incident or a time in your life where you were knitting and it seemed like it was specifically the knitting that really kept you grounded. I've been enjoying reading them, and I know others have too, so just keep them coming. And we will talk about our next August share contest in the knitting circle later on. So let's get into what I've been knitting. Out of my hands. It is out of my hands. I have finished the Februari lady sweater. I actually did it as a vest with no sleeves. So it is and I have it on my Ravelry page as a July ladies vest. So here it is. It seemed like it took me forever. Here's the detail of the lace edging, and I'm going to put it on because I would like to talk to you all a little bit about how I feel about the sweater. But I kind of wanted to have it off for a minute so you could see the lace detail. So I will be right back. Okay, here it is. I'm still missing the buttons, but I still wanted to show it to you. Um, I'm not sure if I made it big enough around. I guess I did. I mean, this is it in the back. Um, I would have liked a little bit of waist shaping maybe on the sides I didn't think about before, but it seems just a little swingy there. I made it a little shorter than what I thought that I would like to wear it, and it actually came out to pretty pretty much where I would like to wear it because it's stretched after blocking. The thing that I wanted to talk about the most, and I don't know if you can see it when I'm sitting down, but the buttonholes. There was I think it's a 8-stitch garter band before you make the buttonholes. And I think the buttonholes are too far over. I plan to get like wooden toggle buttons to put on it. But when I close it up, um, the buttonholes come so far over, I think it kind of distorts the way that the sweater is supposed to lay. And if the buttons are here, there's all of this left here that kind of may flap. So I'm not sure. I'm going to purchase the buttons, I think, but I'm thinking I'm going to do one or two of two things. I'm going to either just try to tastefully close up the buttonholes and wear it open, or close up the buttonholes and maybe get a smaller button and just put it in between the garter ridges. If you have any suggestions on what I should do or how I should do it, that is basically the only thing that I don't like about the sweater, is where the buttonholes sit and how I think that's going to look. I finished the edging. I don't know if you can see, but I ended up finished the edging. I always have a hard time remembering um, when you're doing garter stitch if you're supposed to slip the last stitch and then or purl the whatever it is to make a nice slip stitch edge. I can never remember how to do that. So I just decided to, and I'll take this off and see if I can show it to you. I decided to go ahead and single crochet around the edging, and it looks like a slip stitch edge. I think it came out very nice. I'm very happy with it. So I single crocheted all around it, and I also did a single crochet around the armholes just to finish the armholes. Any other modifications I made? I can't really think of anything. The lace was a little tricky for me, but only because I was knitting this and I at a time when I have a lot going on, and so it was kind of hard for me. It's not a hard pattern at all, but it was just kind of hard for me to keep concentrating. So I feel like I fudged a lot. You know, I'm supposed to have 7 stitches per repeat, and sometimes I'd get to a repeat and only have 6, and I just kind of make it up as I go along. I don't want to look too closely to see if I can see the areas where I had to fudge it, but all in all, it came out nice. This is the February Lady Sweater by Pamela McWayne, and I knit it on, I believe, size 8 needles, and I used Barocco Comfort. This is Barocco Comfort, which is the 50% acrylic and 50% wool. And when I showed this to you last podcast, I wanted to talk about it, and I forgot all about it. I wanted to say, first of all, that I was really in love with this yarn. It's so soft and squishy and just a pleasure to work with. I really didn't know if I was going to enjoy working with the acrylic blend. Don't know why I bought it last year, but it was in my stash and I wanted to use it. But I really, really, really enjoyed working with it. I feel like it blocked very, very nicely. It blocked very nicely from the way that it looked when I took it off the needles. With the 50% wool, I was hoping it would, and it did. And all I did was soak it for a little bit and roll it up in the towel, and then I just spread it out and I blocked it. And what I was knitting with my 24, I think they're 24, 32-inch Chalgu needles, the reds with the red cords, and they have a really sharp tip. And what I found happened with this sweater and with this yarn is the yarn is soft and lofty and everything like that, but it kind of, the needles were too sharp and they ended up splitting the yarn a lot while I was knitting. But with me doing a lace pattern, I thought I didn't want to use blunt needles that were more blunt because I wouldn't be able to do my knit two togethers and slip knits. So it was either have blunt needles and have a hard time doing my lace, or have a sharp needles and have to really, really watch for split yarn splitting. In the end, I thought I should have probably just used the blunt needles, but that was the only problem I had. Um, the yarn, I'm hoping, because it was so soft and it's loosely plied, I would say. You know, I'm not a spinner, so I really don't know, but I think what the reason why it's so squishy and soft is because it's not really tightly plied, but it's loosely plied. So I was hoping that it wouldn't pill like I find with the Malabrigo. I really love that. I love knitting with that. It's like knitting, just luxury knitting to me. Malabrigo, worsted, and also Lamb's Pride. But they pill so bad, and I'm hoping because of this acrylic blend that this doesn't pill. So that's my February ladies vest. I did let's see, is there anything else I want to say about it? Nothing else I want to say about it. I enjoyed knitting it. I would like to take the time to maybe knit it again. And now this time I think I would like to make one with full sleeves. The lace pattern is very, very lovely. And I like to make another color, and I would like to make it with full sleeves. So that is what's out of my hands. In my hands. So I actually finished the February lady sweater, I believe it was Saturday. And so I have not really cast on anything large yet. I still have my sock, and this is my mindless knit sock. I think I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. I've just cast on 64 stitches, and I'm doing a 2x2 rib. This is Knit Picks Felice, and I forget the name of the colorway, but I'm just now getting to the second stripe and second color of the stripe. It is the Capricia colorway. And this is my first time doing stripy socks. And I was thinking of just making it a stockinette sock. I said it would be my travel knitting or something that I would do when I needed to do autopilot. But I found that I wanted to work on the Februari lady sweater all the time, that I just traveled with that. And I tried to be as autopilot as I could, and maybe that's why I had to fudge in some places. But that was basically what I've knitted on. I showed you this 3 weeks ago, and I think I had just got it cast on. So this is all the further that I have gotten on it. I'm thinking about either doing it in stockinette stitch, like I said, or now I've been considering doing, excuse me, I keep dropping my mouse. I've been considering, hold on just a second. Okay, I'm squeezing in podcasting when I can, so I'm sorry about that interruption. I've been thinking about doing it a 2x2 rib all the way down, because I may need something interesting, because my next big project is going to be a stockinette stitch project, and I will let you know more about that in aspirations. So here is what's in my hands. Now, the next what's in my hands is a secret knit, and it is for Miss Claire, who Claire is Miss Claire on Ravelry, and this is for the Joni Knits Rebecca Danger swap, monster swap. So Miss Claire, if you're watching this, I know she's a viewer. I would ask that you would please leave or fast forward or something if you want this to be a secret. So we'll give her a couple minutes to maybe stop. That will be the last thing that's in my hands, and then we'll go to the next segment, Miss Claire. So I have decided to knit for Miss Claire Louis the Love Bot. And it occurred to me just, I planned this particular toy maybe for about a week now, and it just occurred to me maybe yesterday or the day before yesterday, he's not a monster. But he is a Rebecca Danger pattern, and I thought he was really cute, and I wanted to send love and hugs to a fellow knitter, and so I decided on Louis the Love Bot. So that is what I'm knitting. I think he is so adorable. His feet are so adorable, and I'm having fun knitting him. He's a quick knit. I cast on for him, I believe, just right before midnight or at midnight on Sunday, and this is how much I've gotten so far. I tried to do the intarsia. I've never done intarsia before, and I tried to do it, and I found it a little. I wasn't ready for it. So I was talking to my friend Nicole, who is Hot Ass Knitter from this Positively Knitting podcast. You should go check her out. And she told me that she knew of a lot of people that were doing duplicate stitch. So for his heart, I am doing a duplicate. I'm going to try. I've never done duplicate stitch either. So I'm going to do the duplicate stitch. But Louis the Love Bot is made out of Lamb's Pride Bulky. Miss Claire's favorite colors are blue. So I am using, I believe it's the Bulldog Blue colorway, and Um, this is faded. Blue Magic is the name of the lighter. So it's the Bulldog Blue, and I don't know if you can see real good the Blue Magic. It looks, yeah, I guess it's about that blue there. And so that's what I'm going to stripe him with. That's what I'm going to do his little bot ears and different things like that. So I'm excited about him. He is knit out of, like I said, bulky weight yarn on size 9 needles. And that's about it. He is due to be in her hands by September 15th. I'm hoping to get him done before that. I have a big project that I'm waiting on the yarn to come in the mail. And when that yarn comes in the mail, I want to go ahead and get started on that. So hopefully I'll have that yarn at the end of this week. And so hopefully I want to have Louie, the Love Bot, done by the end of this week. So we'll talk about that big project in my aspirations. Aspirations. So what I have next in my queue, I have so many things in my queue. I didn't know where to begin or what to choose from. I have been gifted some great patterns that I've really been wanting to knit, and I just didn't know where to go next. I choose my patterns by what I feel is a need or what I'm in the mood for, basically. So after doing the Februari lady sweater and doing so much concentration on the lace, I didn't want to do anything with a lot of shaping or anything too complicated. Um, so I decided to do a plain neck down pullover sweater, and it is called the mid-weight neck down pullover sweater by Dianna Saucy, and she does the knitting pure and simple patterns. And when I first started knitting about 8 years ago, I found these patterns to be very straightforward and easy. And just a lot of them are plain, but they can be like a palette for you to add your own whatever in. But it's where you don't have to do the numbers if you want to do a pullover or cardigan. And I mean, they have just really beautiful classic looking sweaters. So this is the sweater. This is a picture of it. I'm sorry. This is a picture of it from the Ravelry page. I And it's just a plain pullover sweater. At work, we are to wear a solid blue top, shirt or top, and a, any shade of blue and any shade of brown skirt or pants. And so I've been wearing, just like tan or brown skirts and blue tops, but I really wanted to have a nice pullover sweater to wear for work when the winter time comes. So I purchased Knit Pick City Tweed in I believe it's a Larkspur colorway. I will be excited to show it to you when it comes. I believe it is about the color of my dress that I'm wearing now, and my dress actually looks more green than blue, but this dress is kind of, I would call, like a stonewash blue color, a light stonewash blue, and this tweed is like a blue like that. And I thought, well, since this is a just a plain stockinette stitch pattern, the tweed would give it texture and give it a more interesting look. I'm tossing around the idea of maybe doing a cable, down each arm. I'm not sure if I want to do a cable panel in the front or back yet. I've also been tossing around the idea of maybe doing the cuffs and the hem with the lace edging, but I'm not sure of how lace edging would look with tweed yarn, since tweed is already kind of bulky, not bulky because it's a DK weight, but kind of textury, has a lot of texture. I don't know if textury is a word, but it has a lot of texture already. I didn't know if the lace would get lost in the tweed. So those are some things that I'm considering adding to it. I don't think it'll just be a plain all over stockinette stitch sweater. Um, I've also thought about doing maybe a cabled rib, if there is a such thing, instead of just a ribbing on the cuffs and on the sleeves. I would like to do a cable rib. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about. So I'm excited about that. That's a birthday gift to myself. My birthday's coming up here this week. And so I will be excited to get started on that. That's all I have in my aspirations. Um, let's see, do I have anything in the near future? I do have a few baby items that I would like to make, a few baby sweaters. I haven't chosen any specific patterns. And then also the patterns that I've been talking about seemingly week after week, I still want to knit, which is Piper's Journey and the My Hope. So we'll go on to what's in the goodie bag. So my goodie bag, I'm excited about the few things that I have in my goodie bag this week, and we will start from the top. Last podcast, I shared with you my aspiration to knit the My Hope shawl, and just how touched I was by the shawl, and of course the charity too. But I shared about Araya Hope, and I wanted to knit the shawl out of a pink yarn, and I thought maybe the Malabrigo we talked about. Well, I got an email from Diane Bradburn, that's her Ravelry name, and she had said that she had hand spun some pink gradient yarn back in April. And when she was spinning it, or after she was done, she just knew that the yarn was not something that she couldn't think of, something that the yarn wanted to be, or something that she didn't know who the yarn was for, but she knew it wasn't for her. And so when she saw my podcast, she contacted me and offered me the yarn for the My Hope. I wanted it pink because of Araya's pink helmet that she wore to protect her head during her epileptic seizures. And I was so excited and just very, very touched more than anything. I had too thought about seeing if I could look into some Etsy dyers and see about using a gradient. And I have never knit with hand spun before. So I'm very excited. So anyway, she sent me this, and it is border Leicester, and it's a 70/30 border Leicester and silk. Let's see if you can see it good. See if I can get it to focus for you a little bit. There. And it's a hefty, see if you can see the gradient. It's a hefty sized ball. It is, I actually wound it as far as I could on my ball winder, and I ended up having to finish the rest by hand. So it may not look like the most beautiful ball, but that's how I did it. And let's see, it's 70/30, and it's a gradient, and she does have some sparkle in it too. And I am just very, very excited to be able to knit. This is definitely going to be the My Hope. I need a break from concentrated knitting right now. So this may be what's up and coming next for me. But thank you very much, Diane, from my heart to yours. Thank you so much for thinking of me. And when I got your email, and then when I got the yarn, I knew that this was my Araya Hope's shawl pattern. So shawl yarn for her shawl. So thank you very much for that. Also from the goodie bag, I got something from Goodwill, and I was excited about it. I wanted to share it with you. I always look at the bags. I'm a bag and basket junkie. And I was wanting a knitting bag that was large enough to hold a garment. I have medium-sized knitting bags, and they can hold maybe lace, and they can hold a lot, but they couldn't hold the worsted weight, just the vest that I was working on. So I was getting ready to make an order and checking out on Etsy for another large knitting bag to put my knitting in. And lo and behold, I was at Goodwill and I found this bag. I love quilted pattern bags like this. And it's green. It looks like it has pineapples or something on it. It's very big on the inside. I love it. It has a cardboard at the bottom. It has just one little pocket up here where I slipped my, I hope you can see this. I had it in front of me, where I slipped my, this is my notions case. So I can slip my notions case right there in that one pocket, and it's very deep. And actually it held my February lady vest, and it also held my sock bag. I think, well, I wasn't using that bag, but it held my sock bag too. So I was actually able to carry two projects in here. And it has this little button, loop enclosure button here, and it was $4 in Goodwill. And I was very, very excited about this knitting bag. I love to find finds like that. So that is also what's in my goodie bag. And another purchase just today, a couple hours before I started recording, and I really do not spend a lot of time at Goodwill. I got that bag almost 3 weeks ago, but I was there again, and or maybe just 2 weeks ago, and I found a hand knit sweater, and I could not pass this sweater up. It looks like I'm wearing it, if you notice, and I'll stand up and see if I can show you. It looks like it is knit out of like baby soft, Red Heart baby soft, because it has the sparkly baby soft uh, yarn in it, and I think that's what it looks like to me. But, and I would not ever think of knitting a sweater out of this, an adult sweater, but somebody did, and I think it came out very beautiful. It's stockinette stitch, and it has um a attached crochet border. Let me see if I can show you first on the sleeve. That's the border on the sleeve. And also, I'm going to take it off here now. The border around here is crocheted. It's a crocheted edging, and it's just a regular basic raglan. I believe there's no seaming in it. There's no seaming on the inside. I found this sweater for $4 today. And I thought, I'm not sure if it's really my style or not. The girl said I look nice in it, but I could not leave it hanging at Goodwill. All of this work, I don't know whose it is. I thought, who? And then the way that it's closed, she just crocheted a chain, and she put a little sparkly button on it. And I thought that was very cute. And so I don't know who knit it. I thought, well, maybe it was someone older who knit it, and then they passed away and the family didn't realize the value or the work. I mean, I know it's not the most expensive yarn, but anyway, it was knit with care. And I love, love, love handmade objects. And so I could not pass it up. I couldn't leave it there. So that is what's in the goodie bag. I really, really like it. And I thought that was just a neat treat to find. So let's go on to what's on my iPod. I have not had a lot of time lately to really catch up on my old favorites as far as video podcasts, but I did want to give a special shout out to Single Handed Knits. Mel from she's Emski Knits on Ravelry has a very neat podcast. And what I like about her podcast is, first of all, she's a very beautiful and prolific knitter, and also her enthusiasm, and she has a huge heart. And she seems like a very, very sweet person. And so she's just, it's just an enjoyable podcast to watch. Um, she is drawing people into her community because she doesn't have a knitting community, which is why a lot of us podcast. And so she thought she would only have 5 friends, and I think now she has 400 members in her group. And so maybe most of you that do watch my podcast have already heard of her, but if you haven't, I would advise you to go check out Single Handed Knits. It would be a real treat for you. As I've been commuting, it's about a 40-minute commute back and forth to work for me. One way, it's 40 minutes. So I've been listening a little bit to a few audio podcasts. And one that I listen to, I have been listening to for a while, and it's called Math for Knitters. And Laura Neal is the host of that. And what I like about her podcast, first of all, she is just kind of geeky genius as far as working out patterns and numbers and things like that. She has a different project that she usually shares, pattern that she usually shares every week for her podcast. I haven't knit very many of them, but I think the main reason why is because she's an audio podcast and I forget about it after I listen to it. It's not like a video podcast where you can see it and you're at the computer and you can usually go and click over to it while you're watching or whatever. But she does have some really neat designs. And but what I like about it is she has conversations with different knitters and designers. And I believe it's the latest one or the one before the last. She had a conversation with the yarn harlot. And I was very excited to hear that she was talking to her. One thing about Laura, though, that I will have to warn you, and this is just my opinion, and I could be looking at it. Well, when I hear that she's going to be talking with designers, I kind of think of it more as an interview. But what she's actually doing is having a conversation with them. So you're listening to these two knitters talking. So sometimes Laura talks just as much and maybe a tiny bit more than the designers that she's talking to. So I was a little disappointed because I wanted to hear more from Stephanie Pearl McPhee, but it was more like a conversation than an interview, which is fine. And if you really, really like that type of format, it's not the same as Knitter Journeys interviews that she did with different podcasters. It's more of a conversation, and sometimes you can even hear the phone ringing. And but anyway, she has like 130 episodes, and I would advise you to check her out. I found some really neat designers on there that I hadn't heard about or known about, and just I love hearing knitters talk, and I love knitters interviews and things like that. So I haven't listened to it in a while, and I was able to catch up on it a little bit in the past week or so. And so I wanted to share that with you. And usually I try to just share one or two, video and an audio, but I also wanted to mention, because I've been listening to Yarn on Tap, and that may too be another popular podcast that many of you have already heard of, but it is an audio podcast. And the Knitters Brewing Company puts it out, and I believe they're an online yarn shop, and they may have a brick and mortar store too. They're from Southern California, but the reason why and I think they're mostly sock knitters, but they do knit other garments too. But what I like about the podcast, and for some reason I can't think of the two hosts' names, but I like their rapport. And the one host, she's a wife and mother of 2 or 3 children. She has a very beautiful and pleasant voice, not that the other host doesn't. And the other host, she has just the most infectious laugh. Every time she laughs, it seems like she is cracking up or laughing her hardest. And I just, every time I listen to them talk, it makes me smile because I don't know. I just like their banter, and I like their voices, and I like their content. And if you have not checked out Yarn on Tap, an audio podcast, I would invite you to check that out too. So I think it's time for our ASL Minute. ASL Minute. So we've gotten past the pleasantries. We've learned how to say hi and how are you, my name, and we've learned to finger spell our name, and nice to meet you, or nice to meet you. We've learned that. So I thought we would start getting into more of conversation you would have with a deaf or hard of hearing person at a knitting event. And the first thing we would ask, even sometimes you want to ask before you say hi, how are you, what is your name, is what are you knitting? So for knitting, the sign for knitting, bring my hands up that you can see. We learned that X is like this. You take your index finger and you crook it, and that's an X. So you would use the X hand shape on both of your hands, turn it sideways, and kind of do like this. Just kind of tap them together and up. Kind of, that's knitting. So you would say, you're knitting what? For what? And I think I showed this before. You have a flat hand, your non-dominant hand. For right-handed people, that would be your left hand, would be flattened to the side. And you would take your pointer finger from your right hand and just kind of sweep it down. That's the sign for what? But you would do it this way. So you would say, you're knitting what? Or we talked about your eyebrows will say the what. They go down and squeeze. So you're saying, you knit what? And you can do like this. What? So what are you knitting? What are you knitting? And I had a viewer PM me and talked about that they were looking forward to learning signs for the different things that we knit. And I meant to get together a list of items that I wanted to show you the signs for. And once again, I wanted to hurry up and get this podcast together. I didn't even have time to sit and think of a list, but I will go over just a couple of easy ones. Hat. You knit hats, you just tap the top of your head. That's hat. You can also just pull it down over your head for hat. Socks. Socks. You take two pointer fingers and you kind of rub them together, pointing them down, and that would be the sign for socks. Socks. Gloves is just you show, kind of mime putting gloves on your hands, and that would be gloves. So that is our ASL minute. I don't want to take too much time for those of you who aren't interested in learning a few ASL signs, but we will get more into other ASL signs for knitting related terms. So thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Court of Justice. I don't have much for this week, but I did start a new project. I didn't get much work done on the mermaid. I didn't work on her at all, but I started the horse. Let's see. I am doing it from the same book that I got the mermaid from. Make a square, make a toy. And I am thinking this is what he's gonna turn out to look like. Yep. And I haven't got that much done on it, but I am oh yes, I'm using Lamb's Pride sheer yarn. My mom picked it up for me one day, and this is all I've gotten done so far. Got this done. I really like this yarn because I like sheer stuff. And this is the second square. Yep, that's, oh, and I've gotten his ears done. I think they are so adorable. They are totally cute. And I started a second square. I haven't got much work done on him though. Yep, so that's all all the knitting I have done this week. Oh yes, I was supposed to show you that. I am using the Loopy U book bag. My mom was letting me use it because she doesn't like it anymore. So that's all the knitting I've got done for this week. I hope to have a lot more done by next time we podcast. And that's basically it. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Hi, and welcome to Journey's Journey. I'm your host for this part of the podcast, Journey. This week I haven't got any knitting done, but I will show you what I'm talking about. Let's see. I did get a little bit of knitting done on my scarf. It's in this, I forget what kind of yarn this is, but whatever kind of yarn it is, it's very difficult to knit. You can see it. It's purple, variegated colors of purple, and I don't know if everybody knows how to knit with this yarn, but I obviously did when I first started. And what you do is you unroll it, you pull it apart, and it makes it look like this lace pattern thing. So it's very hard to work with, but it's very fun if you have patience, which I don't. But it's still fun for me. I have worked on my dishcloth. See if I can find it. Oh, and all this is in my bag. My mom gave me for my birthday. I love it. It's big. The head of my doll, I got it sewed up. I think I showed you this last week. But then I fixed her ears. Last time I said they were too sticky any. So that's that. And I have not worked on anything else. My Granny Smith dishcloth, I did not work on it because I don't know. So, I will show you what I have been doing. I've been reading a book off my Kindle. So I got a Kindle for Christmas. So, a Kindle for Christmas. And that's that. And I've been listening to Odyssey. This is Odyssey. And it's really good. It's Christian. And I've been writing a book. It's called Seeing Through Your Eyes. And it's written by me, and I'm writing in this notebook. And it's about a girl. And so I haven't quite finished with that. And so that's all I've been doing this week. So you see why I haven't got much knitting done. But then I was upstairs and I found this bag. So this is one of my goodie bag part. It's like this. And I took out my socks. So I was thinking of making a sock yarn dishcloth thingy with jig. Not dishcloth, but like a sock yarn, Afghan. But after I finish my other project. So here's this. And I love my mom's lady sweater. So I'm going to make me one as soon as I finish my doll. Just making another toy because It looks green, but it's blue when it gets up close. There you go. It's blue. So what I'm using this for is to put my pieces of my doll in. Here is her arm. So I put it in the bag. So this is all my completed parts, which doesn't have very many completed parts in it right now. But yeah, so that's what I'm using that for. And then I also, let's see if I can find it in here. I forgot to say, I did actually work on my Afghan. But here is her, I'm thinking what part of her body this is. Here, I'll look in the book. This is her, I can't remember. Oh, this is her hand. See her hand? It looks like that. See, I'm making her brown, remember. So just imagine all that white where there's brown. And right there is where the end of her hand is, which is this part. It's brown. And then the white is a strip. See if we can get that. The white and the brown are the strips. And then I'll sew it up into her hand. So that is her hand part. And that's that. So on my big aspirations week, I want to make the lady sweater because I like it and my mom made it, and what my mom makes, I want to make. And here's her other hand. So I've got 2 of her hands done. Actually, all I actually need to do is really her feet, and I can't find any black yarn on that. Well, I can, but we don't have any kind that I'd really like to use for her feet, you know? So I can't find any of that. So yeah. So anyway, so I have been reading and stuff. So I'll show you the book I've been reading, and it's by Charles Ludwig. He's a really good author. So that is what I've been reading. So I guess that's all for Journey's Journey. Thank you. Bye.
So thank you for taking the time to sit and knit with me. I have really enjoyed it. It's been a little different than what I usually do. Usually I will have a detailed show notes already in front of me. I may even already have them on the blog and things like that. But to cut some of the formalities out and just kind of shoot from the hip, so to speak, I just really quickly grab things up and just jotted down a few thoughts and sat down and really wanted to take the time to be with you all. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I thought about for our knitting circle this today that I will open up the August share contest thread in the Ravelry forum, and I would like for you to share how you find time to knit. And I guess this has been on my mind because, now that I'm working, I'm finding less time to knit. I used to squeeze knitting time in when I was at home. Most of the time I had a lot of volunteer things that I would do, but when I wasn't working, I would still I live in a 1,700 square foot old farmhouse, and there are 6 of us in this house, so there's plenty of work for me to do. I actually told my husband I go to my job to get a break from the homework. But how do you find time to knit? I had a dear friend suggest to me that I get up early in the day and knit for a half hour, an hour or so. And I already try to get up in half hour, an hour early to have my devotions or my quiet time of prayer and meditation and Bible reading. So I'm thinking maybe I can set the alarm a little bit earlier, and after I have my quiet time, half hour quiet time, squeeze some knitting in. I do squeeze some knitting in during my time at work. I have an hour lunch break, and it takes me about a half hour to put around and get my lunch or whatever and eat my lunch, and then I'll have that last half hour to knit. So I'm thinking about eating less, which wouldn't hurt me at all, and maybe taking more time to knit, or eating more quickly and having 45 minutes of knitting time instead of a half hour. But other than that, I do have less knitting time, and I'm just thinking I am a lover of micromanaging, and I need to micromanage my time more now to squeeze in knitting time. So would you share with me, those of you, you don't have, it's not just for those of you who work, but those of you who stay home too, share in the thread how you squeeze knitting into your day, or how you squeeze your day around knitting, however you want to put it. And I would love to get some ideas. And once again, I'll just leave the thread open. And in my first podcast in September, I will draw for a $7 giftable pattern. I ask that you be a member of the group, and one post per person, but it's hard for me. I'm not sure about that one post per person, because it's hard for me not to comment on the posts that I see. So I've just really enjoyed reading the post. So, how do you squeeze knitting into your time? And um, I just been really uh, inspired to be more thoughtful to others that are around us. I, we receive already, a lot of times we receive either awe or we receive rude comments in the public while we're knitting. And just being out in the work world more, I have received, comments, not just about knitting, but working or whatever, that I felt were inspired me to be more careful about what I say to others. And you don't know people's situations, and just how we deal with people. You may not like everybody and may not like everything that they do, but we still want to show respect one to another. So I have no idea where that came from. That's usually not what I had in mind for Knitting Circle, but I just wanted to say I appreciate all the warm thoughts that you all have put in the thread for our family, as we're kind of getting in our groove for the new dynamics for right now. There's been a lot of changes for us in the past couple years, and thank you for your patience, and thank you for continuing to download and watch. And I will see you next time. So thank you for sitting and knitting with us. Have a great day. Take care.